Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? I'm assuming many people, well, if they're in Europe, they're probably sleeping. um, if they're in the United States, they may be in a food-induced coma from Thanksgiving and turkey. I think turkey. I think it's been proven to have sedative qualities to it. So it's possible many people are in the zone from too much turkey, or the right amount of turkey. It's just having sedation qualities. Let me get my hair out of my way. I thought I would come on because I try to do this now and again. I actually meant to do it at 7 o'clock, but I'm not going to lie. I actually didn't eat a lot of turkey, but I took a nap, so it was a little bit late. So I'm like, oh, it's probably too late. And Miss Jaime, Watery Mountain Barter Pass, she's like, oh, it's not too late. But I do like to do this now and again at holidays because holidays are difficult, right? uh powerful they're powerful dates because they have, year after year after year of very intense memories, and some of those are great memories, some of those are not great memories. Some of them are very, very lonely because we don't have a lot of people around us, or the other way, they can be super chaotic because we have a ton of family, and it can have all different levels and degrees of dysfunction within the family. Some people wishing they had less family time, some people wishing they had more family time. If you have lost somebody, as I have lost my son, it's bittersweet, right? There's all kinds of wonderful comforts of being around family, but at the same time, it always has the layer in, no matter what, it always has that layer in of the people who aren't there, that layers that in. So holidays generally are connected to family, both positive and negative ways. And so anything connected just to family dynamics and repeated powerful days can be very complicated. So I find that holidays in general are complicated, wonderful memories as well as difficult ones, and all the stuff in between. So I thought, before I set my alarm to do this at 7, and then I fell asleep. But I went through, I pulled a whole bunch of decks. I was just kind of pulling random cards from different decks, trying to see what decks that I would use. And I really was getting lots of misses. Not that they weren't good decks, but it was just like, that's not what I'm looking for. My point of coming on here and pulling some cards for people is just to, offer support, a card of support for people. But I really just was looking. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I was looking for something specific. So I pulled all the decks I had out, and would just pull one or two cards. I'm like, that's not really what I want. So then I went to my bedroom and pulled my under the bed box out, and was pulling random cards from different decks. And I pulled a couple cards from these two decks by Wendy Andrew. And I was like, yeah, that's what I was looking for. So I'm going to use these decks, probably primary this one. This one really hit the spot, but, we'll start there. So if you would like to have a card pulled just for, not just because I think it's important, but if you would like a card pull for you in support, a supportive message. Again, I'm not really answering any questions. The point of this is just to pull from the grandmothers, pull from our ancestors, pull from the universe, with a supportive message for anybody who feels like they might need it tonight. So I also have a question for you all. I'm working on pulling together this a bear project, because this time of year I really sink into bear, because that is my primary and oldest guardian energy. Of course, we all know this beautiful picture by Bauer, so I want to put that into it. Two people this year. I've got this beautiful card here called Enter the Cave. I've got a couple little die cuts. Two people this year sent me randomly two books. One of them is this one called Myth Animal Icon Bear by Wolfie Store, which I'm very much enjoying. And then I haven't gotten too far into this, but this is extremely powerful. It's called In the Eye of the Wild. And this is difficult. If you don't want scenes of violence, because this is it has to do with a bear attack, but in the way in which it profoundly changed a woman's life and transformed her. And so I'm really in the midst of bear at the moment, which is pretty normal for me. That is definitely a but anyways, what I want to know, because I was digging around for this before I came, and I came on and I can't find it. I thought somebody on the chat is going to know what I'm talking about. There is a painting that I feel like I first saw on Facebook, just showed up in like an ad or something like that. I can't find it. It is a little girl, and she is like, I feel like she's roaring. She's like making a face like she's roaring. And she's a little girl, and then behind her, like is like the spirit of the bear is like enveloping her, and kind of, I don't remember if it was roaring with her too. I feel like there was a lot of color of red in there. I feel like it was bold. It's a beautiful painting. I cannot find it for anything. I have put all kinds of keyword, little girl, bear spirit, roaring. Like I feel like her little hands are up. If you know what painting I am talking about, please let me know, because it's driving me bonkers. So that is, I'm going to put that out there into the universe in case anyone knows what I'm talking about. I feel like I saved it somewhere, but I can't find it. Okay, I'm scrolling back up after I did that. So I can't see any responses at the moment, because I'm going to scroll back up. Holidays complicated. Hello. I'm just scrolling back. Hello, Miss Veronica. I'm just here to sit, listen, and chill with you. Oh, hello, Liberius. And I'm happy to have you sit with us. Diane, I love your name, Wood Thrush Cottage, and I see Jen and Sunny D and Sarah. Okay, I think this is the first one. I'm going to kind of work through a couple, and then I'll come down to the comments. I cannot see your comments at the moment because I want to, actually, you know what I think I'll do? Why don't I be a little organized here? But I will re-ask. Like if I don't hit yours, I will re-ask, because sometimes it just starts to get lost in the chat. So let me though do this, and I think I did this last time and it worked better. So let me put this right here for a second, and then I'll come back down where I can see the chat, because I see Sarah. And again, don't worry if I don't get you. I will, once I get a few down, I will, oh, Jaime, I think that you just said you showed me that picture and you have it. I think that's what you're talking about, but I will come back. I can't see again at the moment. Brooke would love a message. I missed that. See, that's why it's good to go back. Oh, it just dropped back down. Okay. Well, I'm going to grab these couple, and then I'm going to come back. I love Woman Who Sees. I love your name as well. Okay. I've got a couple here. I'm going to do those, and then I just threw my keyboard in the trash can. Okay. It's late. Liberius, I'm going to add you in there. I'm going to do it this way instead of risking my keyboard again. And I see Carolina. I'm going to just get a couple on here, and then I'll do a few, and then I'll see if anybody else wants one. Again, let's just, sometimes we just need a hug and it's going to be okay. Divination is amazing and fabulous for, putting us on the straight and narrow, for telling us what we need to hear, for laying things on the line and saying, you know what, you got to listen up here. But sometimes we just need a hug from the grandmothers. So that's where I'm pulling from. I'm pulling energetically from my grandmothers, my ancestors, I guess more my female guardians tonight with these goddess of love and dreams, to see what kind of, there will be time, Miss Anna. There will definitely be time, Miss Kristen and Laurie. So I will put your names on in a second. I'm going to pull a card first for Miss Sarah, and let's just be here and support each other. Again, we can be having a perfectly wonderful day, and that's great. You are welcome here. I've had a lovely day. I spent some time with family earlier, and then quieter time tonight. And there's highs and lows, goods and bads, all of the stuff in between. But sometimes it's a little bit easier when we're not by ourselves. So, hello, Miss Laurie. Hello, Sherry. I will add more people on as we go. But right now I'm going to pull a card for Miss Sarah. And I'm going to zoom in here. Oops, I can't see though. Oops, sorry, Miss Sarah. You get to be the guinea pig while we get everything sorted out here. Let me get this closer so you can actually see your card. So this is a card of self-discovery. I really love this particular card. Well, I just love the artwork. It's got a very graphic, I don't know how you describe that, kind of like a folk art, but a little bit more than folk art look to it. But I love the way that she's holding the waters in her hands, and then it's draining down. So there is a sense of diving deep, but at the same time, for me, the way that she's holding her hands, Sarah, really speaks to you already have, right? You have that depth already within you. And I know that you said this would be kind of in connection with your birth family, but you have the energy that you need. Water, and like the cups in tarot, water is, yes, the suit of our inner world and our emotion, but it's also the energy of our power bank. It is what's in our belly. It is in like the high priest of diving deep into the water. It's the water in the moon card. It is our power bank, right? And so I love the way that she holds this, is that there's much to discover about what you inherently have. Some of that probably from your birth family and through ancestors that you may not even know that you have. But dive deep, because you have so much within you already to tap into. It's already in your hands. So that is a little message for Miss Sarah. I'm gonna, before this rolls too far, I'm gonna grab and make sure I'm gonna try this again and try it out. I'm gonna see if I could leave this right. Oh, you can't even see. I've got the tiniest little keyboard and I love it, except for when I threw it in the trash. I want to put, before this scrolls too far, I have Carolina and Laurie and Kristen and Anna. And again, if I miss anybody, don't stress. I will ask again once I kind of start to get down to the bottom of the list. So no stresses. I will try to get as many as I can here. So, okay. So the next person is for Miss Lady D. I'm going to go ahead and scroll this down where I can see. Happy Thanksgiving to people coming in. Hello, Miss Roxanne and Crystal. And again, I will get to more, I promise. No worries. We've got time. We've got cards. Let's see, though, a message tonight for Miss Lady D. I see Crystal. I see Ginger. Hello, Ginger Faye. Hello, Sadhana. And I know I missed people's names while things were scrolling, but hello to everybody who is hanging out with us tonight. And just, let's give each other some support. Let's just be there in the goods and the not so goods and in all the in-betweens. Oops. I really like this because I love this deck. I don't know why I don't use this more. I guess I need to put this here. This is the one we're pulling from currently. We're going to pull from the other one too, but let's just stick that up there like a little header. I really like this image here because this kind of reminds me of the energy of the Six of Pentacles, that what we put out is what comes back. And so this tells me that the ancestors, the grandmothers, I'm just going to go with the grandmothers. That can be stand in for whatever that looks like to you. But for Miss Lady D, this really speaks to your own sense of generosity that you have within yourself, that as you put that out, that is coming right back around to you. But sometimes when we're generous and open people energetically, we don't always have that opening for that to come back and fill you up. And so this is just an expression to me, or a sort of pat on the back from the grandmothers, that the energy that you have and that you do put out into the world is something that can come back if you're open to, I think that when we try to open ourselves up to generosity and grace coming back to ourselves, it makes us feel vulnerable. We can feel vulnerable to open ourselves up to grace, to good things, to good energy coming our way, because we just want to put shields up, shields up, shields up. But if you open up to that, what you put out to the world can come back to you, Miss Lady D. I do think of this as a card of grace. It reminds me of Little Women, in the book, The Little Women, when they would go out and they would take their food to other people that were around them. But it's that understanding that grace is, when we give grace, we are also accepting grace. So don't block the grace that is coming back. Coming back to you. And that doesn't talk about blockage. That's just something that popped through for me, is to that it can be difficult to receive grace. And that seems to be coming through strongly for me, Miss Lady D. That you have grace to absorb if you're willing to open up to it. So that was for Miss Lady D. Let me give it a ruffle here, a ruffle here. Hello to people popping in. I know I'm down to Laurie or I have Laurie onto the list, but I will scroll back up after a couple, snag who I can, and I will re-ask again once I start to get low on the list. So don't worry, I will get to you. This is the next one will be for Miss Brooke, who had a lovely, I don't have the greatest memory, but she had a lovely name on her username. If I can speak. Was there a lot of cooking going on? I was in charge today of, I made pumpkin pies because that is my job. Speaking of grandmothers, my grandmother made the best pumpkin pie on the planet. Now, I don't make it as strong as she did. I would say she probably doubled the spices, especially the clove, to where it almost your tongue would tingle from the high degree of cloves in her pie. But I absolutely loved her pumpkin pie. And so I don't double the spices, but I half them again. Is that the right way to say that? Take the base amount of spices and I do half again of the spices. And so I was in charge of, they turned out really well. I was very happy with them. Pumpkin pie, it's all about pumpkin pie for me. And also did a country ham, which is not fun. You have to like soak it forever to pull the salt out. So, but it turned out really, really delicious. And of course, the ever necessary green bean casserole. That was my what I needed to make today. Okay, so we're pulling now a hug or a message from the grandmothers from for Brooke. Oh, I love this. You know, this reminds me of this. I don't always go off of the titles here, but I do love the sentences in this deck. Let your body radiate out. But what exactly came to mind as soon as I saw this one is there's a new deck that I'm working with, and I've been doing all of my year ahead and Wheel of the Year readings with it, and it's called Tarot de St. Croix. I don't know if anybody else works with this deck, but I've been doing you know, tis the season for year ahead and Wheel of the Year readings. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because here it is right there at the beginning. I love this deck a lot, and I've really been enjoying just diving into it. But the card that I don't like the most, and this always happens, right? I did not like this 10 of Pentacles because it just feels super modern. It feels super disco, and this is not a super, I don't know. I haven't done a walkthrough of this yet, but I've been using it a bunch. I like the size. I love the color palette. It just, I don't know. It was not my favorite. It didn't feel, I'm not a big person for modern decks. However, as I've been, of course, doing a bunch of readings with the deck, I've made peace with this card, because the idea of the 10 of Pentacles for me is this idea of legacy. You know, sometimes when we read for a long time, you get stuck on certain meanings. And so I think, okay, the 10 of Pentacles is about legacy. It is about setting things in motion that are going to continue to be able to generate energy, right? But I think of that generationally. But, you know, this card has really made me stop and think about that on a personal level. And this is again from Miss Brooke. And this is an idea that for the 10, I'm sorry, I know I'm co-opting your reading, but this picture came into my head as soon as this card came into my head when I pulled this card. That when we allow our energy of our body to radiate, when we allow ourselves to be fully present and move the energy in our bodies, it generates extra, starts the ball, that energetic ball rolling, and it starts to have that cumulative effect. So when you really understand your inner beauty and start to move within the world from that space, again, of grace, I feel like tonight is going to be a message of grace for all of us, because I think that's the message that we all need the most. But when you move your body and appreciate and are present in your body with a sense of grace for who you are right here and now, and allow that energy to start to build and move, it will generate it, right? It will continue to generate that. It's not just in that moment, but it allows that to continue to roll forward in some way. So this for me is more about being fully present and having grace for yourself, having grace for your physical space wherever you're at in your physical body, and allow that to move and start to build energy up, because that's what's going to start to continue that energy forward and push you forward. So that's what came to my head for that one. And again, yeah, still not my favorite image at all. It's my least favorite 10 of Pentacles image, but I've come, you know, you can have those problem cards in a deck, and the more you use it, you're like, okay, I understand something a little bit different from that card because of that image. So that is for something that grandmothers wanted you to hear, Miss Brooke. Hello, people coming in. I'm going to do this next reading for Liberius, and I will actually, let me pause for a minute and scroll up to I can find it, but probably. Yeah, you know what? I see Miss Lady D. I might have possibly just gave you. I thought I saw that you requested. I apologize because I do try to not read for people unless they request it. So if I jumped again, Miss Lady D, I do apologize. Okay, Spirit 227. Let me just add a couple more names so I don't get too far behind on names here. I got Lady D. Let's see. Sadhana. Did I say your name correctly, Sadhana? I apologize if I do not. Do not. And again, if I miss your name, don't stress. I will ask again. Sadhana makes. I always use kabocha. Kabocha. Am I saying that? Is that like that fizzy fermented? Is that something totally different? Sorry. I am scrolling through here. Craig Raven from Wales has never tried pumpkin pie. That is so surprising. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm scrolling. Carolina. Okay, let me put that. Okay, then we'll just stop there. And again, I will ask again if I miss people. I just want to try to not get too far ahead. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll stick you right here. Deirdre. Miss Deirdre, Miss Lady of the Bags, and kombucha's a Japanese. Oh, okay. I'm thinking it was like kombucha. Is that like a fermented drink of some kind? That's I think that's what I am thinking. Because I thought that is the strangest thing ever. To put into pumpkin pie, but people do things in the world in different ways. So, okay, I'm going to stop there. Oops, I missed. Who is this? I've somehow started to type a name and I can't find it. Okay, I'm going to stop here because we've got actually quite a few, and then let's see how far I get here, and then I'll ask for more so it doesn't get into too crazy here. Kombucha, yes. That's what I was thinking she was saying. I'm like, well, that's an interesting thing to put in a pumpkin pie. Just ignore me, said Hannah. Just ignore me. I am sure it's delicious. Okay, let's pull. The next card I'm pulling is for Liberius. Hug from the grandmothers. That's what we're doing today. Hug from the grandmothers. Whether you had a grandmother who was a great hugger. I had two grandmothers who were both amazing huggers, sweethearts, just the best ever. But especially my paternal grandmother, she was full Swedish. She was small, but large chested. And, I'm sorry, there's just something about a grandma just like, just smushing you up. And she was a good hugger. She was a very, very good hugger. I was very much graced. Apparently that's the word of the day. I was very much graced by examples of wonderful grandmothers. And so I know I'm blessed for that. None of my grandparents are with me any longer, which is sad, but I have wonderful, amazing memories of a good grandmother hug. This is a good grandmother hug for Liberius. maybe with a little Swedish flair, because I'm thinking of my Swedish grandmother while I'm shuffling, apparently. Um, this is a card of realignment. So this is interesting because the realignment card is about obviously making an adjustment. But in order to make an adjustment, it is a message of needing to pause for a moment and really understand the energy that's going around you, Liberius, right? We can't really adjust and sort of reset ourselves and realign ourselves to the energy around us if we don't pause and really feel and understand the energies around you, including, because today is Grandmother Day, apparently, including that energy of grace and aligning yourself into those good energies, whether that is energy coming from your own ancestors, whether that is energy that you have currently in your life today, but understanding that it's right now is the best thing that you can do for yourself is pause, really feel what is the energy that's going on around you, and adjust and sort of shrug your shoulders, drop off the tension and sort of realign yourself into those energies of support that are with you, that can, if you align into that, that can be such an amazing feeling and can really help us to navigate the rest of the world that's out there that you have to deal with the day-to-day life. But if you're aligned into the supportive energy that is around you, it is there to help you to navigate the rest of your life that you have to deal with. So that is a message for Liberius. Hello, Soaky Field. This deck is a deck called the Goddess Love Oracle, and it is by Wendy Andrew. She has two of them. I'll pull some from this one as well, but this one really, when I was trying to find the right deck that felt right, this deck really popped out. So this particular one just felt right. I just love this image, I guess, and we're heading into winter, and I don't know, who knows? We just go with it, especially when we're doing hug messages. So this next one is for Miss Deirdre. Liberius says, thank you. The message of pausing your line resume. I'm so glad. I am so glad. But I do feel like you have, and I do believe actually that we all do. So that's a given. But I definitely felt that there is supportive energy all around you to align into, which is good. It's always good to feel. Sometimes it's there, or I would almost say always it's there, because I do believe that we have access to ancestral energy, to guardian energy, but we don't always feel it if it's not something that we're open to. We aren't always feeling it. But it's there. I think every single person has access to it if they're willing to be a little more vulnerable, obviously, to open up to those things. This is a message for Miss Deirdre. Oh, got this one again. She's going to be talking today. That dive deep. You probably, hopefully you were here when you heard it, but I'm still going to talk about it because this card to me is really about this understanding. And I know Miss Deirdre, so I also do know this idea of self-discovery, I think makes a lot of sense for Miss Deirdre. I know that there are even ancestral things that she is past and connections to her ancestors that she's working and discovering who she is through her past and through her ancestors, and sort of trying to work through those types of things. So no, and that's hopefully that's not saying too much, but I know that about her. And so this card to me makes a lot of sense, this being in a space of self-discovery. But again, what I feel the strongest with this card is that you already have access to that. That power is already inherently yours. And it really is just understanding what is there and pulling that energy up. It's pulling down and it's washing up. There's just that energy flow that's coming in and coming out, but you already have it. Like, you have access to all of the energy of who you are is there. You just have to trust that, see your own power, and understand that it is there. However it came about, however the pieces of your life that led to who you are here and now, you have access to all of that. And now it's just a matter of discovering it and seeing it and maybe naming it. But that's not going to change the fact that you already hold all of the power and all of the understanding of self that you need. And so it really is a powerful card. It says it surprised me that it would show up more than once in the reading. Hello, Robin. Hello. We do overdo it. It is a holiday of overdoing. While Temper Claire says it's interesting how maternal and grand maternal energies feel similar and different. It is true. I wonder if it's because, and I know that people have complicated relationships with grandmothers. I have a complicated grandmother as well as couple fabulous grandmothers. So I understand that relationships can be difficult, but I wonder if they're so different between our mothers and our grandmothers because there is a removal. There's mother relationships are always going to be difficult, even if they're wonderful, right? Because there's such an integral part of who we are and our past, and all tangled up in all kinds of things. Whereas our grandmothers are once removed from that. There's that saying that, with your grandmothers, they can spoil you rotten, they can do all the things, and then they can just give you back. They're much more inclined to spoil than potentially my kids. My mother is an amazing grandmother. She was an amazing mother as well, but she was an amazing grandmother. But she was one of those kinds, where my kids just never wanted to leave, and then it was always, well, we don't have to do what you're saying because grandma said we could do this and she's your mother, so you have to listen to her. There's this freedom that grandmothers have that they don't have when they're mothers. So there's a step removed from all of the entanglement of parenthood, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Okay, this next card is for Miss Jaime. Yeah. Grandmas can be rough. And it's so funny because my mother is an amazing grandmother. And I'm so understanding the blessing that my children had with my mother as their grandmother. But at the same time, it was rough. She was very undermining of the parental thing, especially when they were little. It was definitely rough. Grandparent energy is more of an objective, nurturing energy, potentially. Grandmothers get to correct all the mistakes they made with your mother through you. That is very, very true as well. It's just a different, and I speak only from the receiving end of this. I am not a grandmother as yet. So I only can think about, my my mother versus, and seeing her as a mother of younger kids, because I was the second oldest of 7. And there was a big age gap between the first couple and then the last 4. And so I was able to see my mother, just change as a mother across all the years. But I was, as an older person, my son was only 2 years younger than my youngest sister. So she was actually in the parenting stage of toddlers when I had little kids as well. So it was a very interesting dynamic. And she would let, her grandchildren get away with far more than her children. Oh, the tangled webs of grandmothers and mothers. Okay, this is a message for Miss Jaime. You get 2 cards. So there's a realignment card. People need to realign their energy after Thanksgiving as well. I love, love, love this Fox card. Okay, that one popped out, so we're going to leave this up there. The card that I pulled was the realignment, which is again, and I think this is just goes without saying during these kind of holiday times, especially when we deal with loss, that it's super easy to get our energies really tangled up, because that's kind of the image that I'm getting right away with this one for Miss Jaime, is there's that ways in which energy can start to get super tangled. It's very complicated. There's so many complicated emotions, so many complicated energies around the holidays, that having to kind of pause and feel that the sort of the natural rhythm and the natural ebb and flow that is around you, and sort of align yourself into that to help to detangle some of the energetic threads right now, is going to be very helpful for you, Miss Jaime. But at the second time, the care card and having grace and gentleness with yourself and your energies at the time, and your emotions at this time are going to be very, it's going to be very important. So this isn't a pull yourself back into alignment, like you are way out of whack, get yourself back into, like, this isn't drill sergeant, right? This is, pause, sit in the moment, kind of feel the support that you have all around you, realign into that in a way that is full of grace and full of gentleness for where you're at and what you're having to deal with emotionally right now, Miss Jaime. So that is for Miss Jaime. Let me clear some of this off here so I can not get confused about where I am at. I know I'm going to switch the deck at some point, but I'm not really feeling it yet. Reassignment seals the deal. These cards, they are really beautiful cards. Lady D has a niece and nephew that are just 5 years younger than me. I have 4 grandbabies. Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's so my mom's family were the same way, because she was one of 9, and so her youngest was was quite young when my brother and I were born. So we kind of grew up with her. So those kind of big families sometimes that cross generations, so you have these overlaps, are super interesting. Let's see, do I have, okay. And again, I very well could have missed names, but I'm going to get Tamsen on there. And I will, as I get down to the bottom, and we'll see how we're doing timing, I'll ask again. So, this next card is for Carolina. There is a beautiful song. Oh, I've got a line in my head. Something to Carolina. Oh, it's a beautiful song, and it's got Carolina in obviously in the. I'm gonna have to find it and put the link in, because I can't talk and think of the lyric of the song, but it's one of my favorite songs. It's like I think it's like an acoustic. I at least the version that I like is an acoustic version, I think, of a song. But anyways, it's beautiful. I can't think of it, but I'm going to try to find it after I pull a card for Carolina, and then I'll put a link to it, because that's a beautiful song. Yes, yeah, I think that's what it is. Toadstool Tarot. Is it called Carolina on my mind? But I think there is, because I can picture the guy doing it, and I feel like the version that I like is not the original version. I feel like somebody else sings it, and it's just him and a guitar. I'm a sucker for a man and a guitar. You're Just a Man and a Guitar, one of my all-time favorite albums. I'm not a big album person. I like songs, but one of my favorite albums is called Songbook by Chris Cornell, and it's just him and his guitar. And that is my favorite thing. But anyways, I'm not going to call you Starduck tonight. Luminous Stardust. It might be James Taylor. I'll try to look after I pull this card for Miss Carolina. But no, that's a beautiful song too, but no. It's definitely not that one, Anna. Or Anna, I'm sorry. Okay, Miss Carolina. Oh my goodness, look at this. Apparently, everybody needs a moment of realignment, or not of realignment, a moment of self-discovery. But also, I feel like again, I've kind of co-opted this card tonight, and it is that for me tonight, this card is about understanding what you already have, right? So it's not so much that you need to understand who you are. We all need to understand who we are. But for me, this card tonight, it could mean something different another night, but for me, this is a card of understanding what you already have, who you already are, the power that you already have. I think that there's obviously a number of us in the world today who don't really recognize the power of what is already in our hands, of the power of self outside of even this. I know this is a card about discovery, but for me, this message is more that it doesn't it doesn't need to be gone and sought for and found, because discovering who you are through the lens of somebody else, through the lens of any other situation, but just that core understanding of who you are that you already hold in your hands, that you already contain. You don't really have to do the Eight of Cups journey at this point. It's more just an understanding of who you are here and now, and that you already have. You just need to see it. You just need to really look in the mirror and see who you are and see what you already hold in your hands right now. That's how this is coming across for me, Miss Carolina. And now I'm going to pause for a second because it's going to drive me bonkers, because we're just hanging out. So let me see. I don't even know, because there's probably lots of songs that are Carolina. I can't play it because we'll get muted. But I feel like I would know if I saw. I see this is James Taylor. Oh, you know what? We're just going to click it. I'm just going to make very quickly. Nope, it's not this. Oh, this is an advertisement. I'm like, nope, it's not this one. Can't you see the sunshine? Yep, that's it. That's it. Although somebody else sings it as well. Okay, sorry, Miss Carolina. You probably get that all the time, and you probably are like rolling your eyes like, okay, yes, I know there's lots of Carolina songs. Okay, so I apologize, but that song I love that song. And I had to do. I love Country Road. Yes, yes. I know the YouTube police I will definitely get a strike for those couple seconds being like, somebody else is going to take your money for us. Like, go for it. This isn't going to have money on it anyways. You're not going to make anything. Let's see. But I do like Sweet Caroline as well. Viola says, my beloved granny was from South Carolina. She was Carolina. Oh, I love it. South Carolina embodied by Granny. That is awesome. Awesome. This next card that I'm going to be pulling is for Miss Laurie. Where I live, New York State of... Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Sinatra's New York. Makes sense. I don't think there's any songs about Ohio. Although, I thought, oh, no, somebody just said there was Ohio. There are lots of states, and there's one called Ohio. I got to look that up. I don't think I've ever heard that. I was just scrolling up there, but wait a minute. I don't know that song, and I do know their songs, but I was just going to say, I don't think anybody wrote a song about Ohio. It's too flat. Oh, I'm so sorry, Selkie. That's so hard, isn't it? When that person that you know and that you love isn't there, even though they're still there. That's very difficult. I'm sorry that you're experiencing that. But she still has the power to embody South Carolina. This next card is for Laurie. We're apparently vibing with the grandmas tonight. All that grandmothers should be, I guess we should say. Oh, I love this. I really love her artwork, right? It's just such a beautiful, I don't know what you would call this, but it feels like kind of a folk style, but there's sometimes folk style artwork in my head can be a bit more rigid, where hers has a beautiful movement in the way that she positions people and the figures in her cards. So there's a softness to it that is just gorgeous. And so I really do love these decks. I think they're kind of those kind of silent ones that maybe slip under the radar for good readers, especially for this kind of thing. But this is for Miss Laurie, and this is about understanding that what your challenges are right now, and we all face challenges of one kind or another, whether it's external challenges, internal challenges, those struggles that you are possibly facing, and having to deal with. That's just part of life, right? It's just struggle. There's this understanding that we have to struggle all the time in different ways, sometimes small ways, sometimes big ways. But the understanding here is that your challenges that you are working through are ones in which you will gain something from that. You will learn from, you will get something from the struggles that you have and that you are facing right now, Miss Laurie. That it's not for nothing. Now, does that still challenges are still challenges, whether or not we know there's something at the end of the road. We still have to get through the challenges that we're in, but it can be powerful reminder sometimes when we're in the midst of just dealing with things. We've got stuff and it's like, why does life have to be such a struggle? It's harder to see because we're in this kind of bubble of, okay, I've got to deal with this, I've got to deal with this, I've got to deal with this next thing. But understand that the challenges that you do face, you are getting something from it, and you will continue to get something from it. And I love this image, though itself speaks of support. So I don't know if you work at all with animal energy, but stag energy is that pulling from that strength of the stag with the challenges that you might be facing, and understanding that in the end, not only are you not alone in the challenges, but that you will gain something from it. So that is for Miss Laurie. Selkie Field says, I feel like the last 2 years is about reassessing who we are and finding the newest version of who we are. Is that what? Tolster Terra says, these cards look like they're painted on old barn wood. Yeah, it just has that feel. Yeah, they're really beautiful, though. I forget sometimes. I had these out for quite a while, and then when I was going back through trying to find the decks that felt right for this tonight's readings, I couldn't find anything, and so I went to my under the bed box and started pulling cards. I'm like, why are these in my under the bed box? I'm gonna need these out over the next couple months. So yes. Laurie says, my last chemo was yesterday. Congratulations, Miss Laurie. Road's not over, but lessons are being, pull that stag energy in. It's rough, but you're like you said, it's not over, but you're pushing through it. And to ring that, I don't know if they did it in your chemo place. My sister on the last day of chemo I have a picture of her where she got to ring a bell of being able to just finish that part. A part of it was, an acknowledging of what was already achieved, even though there was much to do after. So I'm so glad at least that you're done with that part. And I hope you pull that stag energy under your feet as you keep moving forward. And I wish you much health. The next card here is for Kristen. Ooh, that's beautiful. I love the hair. I love the drum. I have been watching. There's this amazing. I'm sorry because it makes me think of things, which is fine. That's what Oracle is supposed to do. But let me see if I can find it, and I'll put the link in because I think everybody should go and listen to this. Oh, how do you spell her name? She is a. Most of her songs are. Oh, how do you spell her name? Maybe if I just put it in randomly. She sings mostly in Farsi. I think that's how you say it. And her name is like your oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay, I don't want to click it because I don't want it to play and get me in trouble again. Okay, I'm going to pause it. Okay, I'm going to put this link in here. Yes, I think that's what it is, Spirit. Just ignore whatever I said. But when you listen to this song, now even if you don't have Scandinavian roots, it's listen to it anyways. You will feel your Scandinavian roots come forward, whether you're Scandinavian or not, is my opinion. But listen to that because it's amazing. Last night I was, I had it's country ham. It's salted and preserved, and so you have to soak it for a couple of days. And then I cooked it. I had to put it in the oven at midnight, and then it was going to cook all night long. But I just couldn't get to sleep because just knowing that this is cooking and that I got to kind of pay attention to the liquid. So I was watching. A couple different YouTubes. One of them was the Disturbed's version of. Oh, I'm blanking on it because now I have this other song in my head. But anyways, I watched a bunch of responses to this one amazing song that I love, super powerful. And then I kept watching. I was watching a lot of her music, and she in this one that I linked to listen for you guys to listen to. She's playing the drum. Sound of Silence. Thank you. Yes. Also listen to Disturbed's version of the Sound of Silence and watch the original, like the video that goes with it. It's super, super powerful. Anyways, so last night I was listening to that like into the wee hours of the morning and listening to, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I don't think I've heard anybody pronounce it. But that one that I linked to is one of my favorites of it. And it just pulls from your soul, and you feel the sacredness of life. So when I saw the drum and having just listened to that all night long, this is what came up, Miss Kristen. But understanding, and this is again about grace, isn't it? Because again, it's I think going to be our keyword for tonight. This really is about grace for ourselves. We are usually, as people, and of course there are idiots and there are people who do not have grace for others. So I'm not I am a Pollyanna, but I'm not stupid. I understand there are just idiots in the world. However, most people that are decent people are willing to give grace to other people and are able to look at another person in the eyes and say, your life is important. Like who you are and your life is sacred and is important. But we don't often, again, turn that back inward on ourselves and understand that who we are and everything that it took to get to where we are, the hardships, the overcomings of hardships, the joys, the sadnesses, all of the things that make you, and this is again for Miss Kristen, but also for anybody listening, all of those things that make you who you are is sacred. Like, you are unique and you are special in who you are because of everything that it took to get to where you are now. And that is something that is sacred and shouldn't be taken for granted. And yet we take ourselves and the sacredness of self for granted far more than we do I'm seeing it in other people as well. And so just reminding you that the journey that you're on, to who you are right now, and as you're going to continue forward from today, is a gift, and that you are a gift in this journey and in life itself. So that's what came up for Miss Kristen. Okay, keep that there. Craig Raven, it's 3 a.m., so I must go to sleep. Good night. It was lovely to have you. Have a wonderful night's sleep. I know it's very, very late for many people. But because that's what I said, I fell asleep and I was telling Miss Jaime, I'm like, oh, I was going to come do these cards. I pulled the decks out, but now it's too late to start. And she's like, it's not too late. So I'm glad that I listened to Jaime. Listen to your friends. Liberius says, I totally agree with you. Oftentimes we forget to give grace to I think most of the time we forget to give grace to ourselves. Yeah. It's important. And it's not about, it's not about a mushy woo-woo-y thing that says, oh, I'm just a wonderful person. It's not this like, let's, yes, the term self-love and self-care and even grace, I think it's watered down, and that, you need to take care of yourself. You need to recognize, the goddess in yourself. And we see so much of this stuff that it gets watered down, but it's really powerful when we allow grace and understand that, we're an amalgamation of so many different things, our ancestral patterns, where we come from, so many inputs, so many challenges, so many highs and lows that go into making any one person that's standing, you stumble, you cross somebody's path in a store, you think, oh, it's just that person who's being irritable, or, is just not very friendly or whatever, or looks particularly sad or worn out. They're not just this person that we see in a snap moment, but they're this amalgamation of so much, and having grace for that person that we see is so important. But then also when we look in the mirror and we think, usually a lot of negative things, pausing to really understand that we're here, that we have survived a lot of different things. Everybody's story is different, but we've all survived highs and lows, and we're still standing here. And that is something to be celebrated. For sure. Oh, it's 11 a.m. here in the Philippines. Oh, thank you so much for this. I was struggling today with body image, accepting myself as I am. My physical body is deserving. Your whole self is deserving of love and acceptance, for sure. Grace is my favorite word. I struggle with the word hope, because I feel like you're leading yourself in the path of expectations that can get derailed and can get problematic. But grace, I think, is something that we all need to strive for. The world needs more grace. The world needs more grace. Okay, this next card is for Anna. Ooh, let go and be. I love this one. I wonder if all of they all have animals? I guess not all of them, but most of them do. That's got an elephant. So yeah, a lot of these have animals in them, which is really beautiful. I love that cat one. But that's just so beautiful. Wildness and freedom definitely has that wild woman. You've got the energy of the stag, but then you also have the energy of the deer. So you have the fullness of power, but also the vulnerability and the sweetness and that potential and that beginning seed of it, and just needing to let go. But it's still about being, right? It's just about being fully empowered by who you are. Just letting go of preconceptions, letting go of other people's vision of who you are, letting go of all of the strictures and things that we put on ourselves. There's so many things in the world, including ourselves, other people, situations, media, culture. Like there's so many things that try to tell us who we are, that try to impose images of or ideas of who we are. And if you just let go of all of that, and just simply be who you are. And that's not only just enough, but that's a lot of, but there's a lot of power in that, of just sort of releasing. It is so hard. I know. And grandmothers don't always tell us what's easy because it's so hard, but we can't stop trying, right? That's the thing, Miss Anna. We can't stop trying. We have to, it's one of those things where you do it, right? You're like, okay, grandmothers, I hear you. I'm going to shake off. It's kind of like that alignment card is getting in alignment with the flow. And this card, it's not really about getting in alignment. It's about pushing away all of those various messages that are coming at us. Again, a lot of times they're coming internally because we picked them up from childhood, from cultural things, from media, from all kinds of things that we're impacted by. And this isn't a card of going into alignment with an energy around you, but releasing that, right? Just letting go of those things and simply being enough. You are enough. And in fact, you are powerful in who you are when you can shake those off. And then you're going to go the next day and you're going to be all tangled up in it again. And you're going to say, okay, all right, wait, I'm just shake that off and I'm going to do it again. The more times that you shake it off, because you get those entanglements again and you release it and you step back out again, it starts to become a learned habit. We learned how to put allow all of these entanglements and allow all these images of self onto ourselves. That was a learned thing. So we can unlearn it. It's just not easy to do so. And it just takes having grace when you find yourself tangled back up in other visions. And then, all right, I've got myself untangled again. I'm going to have grace for myself and just shake it off and step into that next step. And you do it and you do it and you do it until you step into that space of just being, more often than not, as you keep doing it, as you keep relearning a different way of seeing yourself and letting yourself be. It's a very powerful card. Very powerful, Miss Anna. Okay, the next one that I have is for Miss Sherry. My mom used to say that all the time, you are enough. Such an important, we should all be saying that to each other. We should all be saying it to ourselves, right? I think that and it's good to have goals, right? It's good to have dreams. It's good to have, be striving for things, but it has to start with an understanding that who we are as we are is enough. That isn't, you're enough. You don't have to do anything to gain my love or to gain success. Like, you in and of yourself is enough. I don't think we say that enough to children. We're like, what are you going to do? What are you going to be? What are you going to, how are you going to get better? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? What are you going to do with the rest of your life? Instead of really focusing on them being enough as they are. So that's awesome, Jaime, that you had that. Tulsa Terrace says, I seem to have a lot of decks with antlered people in them. How do you read that symbolically? For me, stag energy, deer energy is very liminal space energy, right? So for me personally, when you are seeing people with stags, they're in that space between, right? But especially with the antlers, you're into that power space. You're into that the wholeness of self. Kind of similar to, so if we look at the strength card, the strength card shows the woman and the lion as sort of separate, and there's a need for integration. When you see an antlered person, that is a fully integrated person. They are integrated with their wild self, with their instinctual self, and their human self, and they're standing in that in-between space with the fullness of their power. That's how I see it. Is that how it's, no, but that's how I see it. Be here now, as Ram Dass used to say. IT Guy says, yes, I love that. Okay, let's see. This, again, this card is for Sherry. I need to edge this deck. She looks cloaked in circle that's come to full, and it's okay to let go of old experiences and learn new. Yeah, we don't want to stay where we're at. We're always moving forward, but we also need to be enough here and now. So it's such an interesting, life is interesting and complicated and beautiful and scary and all the things at once, isn't it? That's why I think, that's why divination and working with people and being in space like we are tonight with people is always endlessly fascinating. It's endlessly powerful because there's so many nuances to being a human being. So I get a little bit frustrated with modern decks that often seem to show sort of human beings as this big bad sort of outside of nature. And if we can get outside of being human and be closer to the natural world, that concept really is a bit of a pet peeve for me, because we are part of the natural world. Like, we aren't something apart from that. Trying to be apart from that is what's causing a lot of the problems. But human beings are amazing and wonderful and powerful and capable of so many lows, yes, but so many highs as well. And we don't want to step away from being human. We just want to be better humans, right? We want to embrace our humanity. We just want to be better. Not going into the lows, but I think I think that's the wrong path to take, of sort of denigration of humanity. That's not going to help. That's not going to help. We need to embrace the wonder of what it means to be human, and the power and the lows, and work together to have grace and be better. Anyways, that was a rabbit trail. Sorry for the rabbit trail. Again, this is a message for Sherry. Ooh, perfect balance. Woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? If only we could achieve that space of perfect balance. But we aren't going to strive for perfection, no matter what the grandmothers say. But again, it's about balance. That's my keyword. That is my keyword from when I was little till now. I'm a Libra. I'm all about the balance, right? We aren't really striving for perfection. We're not striving to always be on. We're not striving to always be, not on or passive either, but to have that understanding that everything in balance, being able to just pause and constantly check, where are you at? This is again from Miss Sherry. Like, is it shifted up? Is your balance out of whack? Pause for a minute, breathe, release some of that, and bring things as close as you can into balance again. And it's similar. Balance is one of those things that is a lifelong path, right? You step in, the world gets out of whack, energy gets out of whack, things get crazy and hectic because we live in a hectic and crazy world in which our schedules are off the wall sometimes, or we get out of balance when, like in 2021, if we're in lockdown, we have our or structure is completely gone, but there's easy for things to shift from one extreme to another. Super, super highs, super, super lows. But we don't want to live in even the highs. We don't want to live in the highs. We don't want to live in the lows. Life happens in the middle. That's why I always like the image of, I have a tattoo of a lotus, because that understanding that you have this beautiful flower on the top of the water. It's in the full sunshine. It's absolutely beautiful, where everything just wonderful and beautiful exists. And then you have the roots of the lotus down in the muck and the mire and the slimy bottom of the pond. And we don't want to stay there. We need that. It brings us nutrients. We learn from it. We have lessons that we get from it. And so, we have to go down there, but we don't want to stay down there. Then there's this long stalk that's between the flower and the roots. And the understanding that most of our life exists in that middle space. And so we shouldn't be just scrambling always up to the highs and trying to hold on to the highs. We also shouldn't bury ourselves down in the muck into the lows and stay there either, but trying to regain and constantly adjust to work more in that middle space is so important, and sometimes so difficult, because I do think we do tend to, as human beings, we do tend to struggle for those high moments that can't last, and or get stuck in those low moments that shouldn't last. And so it's just a reminder for you to keep checking and stepping back into balance. And it's not about beating ourselves up when we find ourselves swung into an extreme, but just about adjustment. Readjust back, take a breath, shake it off, and try to bring things a little bit more into balance for you is going to help you to navigate your way forward a little bit better. And this goes for everybody. I don't think there's a single person that doesn't need a reminder to adjust and to continually adjust and try to find some degree of balance. And that balance doesn't always, or I can't see my hands because I'm way down here, but this balance doesn't always and rarely means perfect balance, right? Even though I know what this card says. We might be like this, we might be a little bit like this, but we want to at least try to not be, so far out of whack. And so just bringing things down a little bit better and trying to keep that in the middle and continually having to step back into that space is going to help you. I do love the labyrinth spiral on her head as well. And who doesn't love a sweet fox? But, foxes are about being smart and about being clever and being, but again, being smart means being in balance. It's not that running for the high point or always running from the low points, but it's about being smart and trying to maintain that degree of balance in the middle there. So that's what we have there for Miss Sherry. Okay, I'm going to delete this. There we go. And let's try it. Now, I haven't been feeling like switching, but let's try this next deck. If I remember, we might come right back to this one. I'm going to see. I'm going to listen to my own self. But I do for Miss Laurie, I'm going to pull this one out. If I remember correctly, I felt like this is a little bit more, I don't know. I think I have walkthroughs of these. There's something about this wintry one that I like, but let's see what we get with this one, because I feel like trying this one for Miss Laurie. So this is the same artist, Wendy Andrew, but I think this was the first one, is the Goddess Dream, and then this Goddess Love, I think, was the second one. You are very welcome, Sherry, and you are not alone. I think struggling with balance. Yeah, these are the backs. Did I show you the backs? Well, you probably have all seen them, but these backs to me are my favorite. That is just a beautiful backing. Okay, so this is for Miss Laurie. I'm probably some other people have put names. I'm going to get through the list that I have, because I have quite a few to go, and kind of see where we're at here. And then if we have time, I will get some more after I finish this list. I don't want to get too far ahead here. Okay, so this is a message for Miss Laurie. Ooh. Yeah, some of her, and that I think that maybe that's what that was with this deck. Some of her art reminds me more like Susan Seddon Boulay, who is one of my favorite artists. Her art speaks to my soul. And some of her artwork, and I think it's more in this deck than the other one, maybe, has again, it's not like saying it's copycat, but there is a powerful, I don't think so, Well-Tempered Claire, but be, uh, I could be wrong. I could be wrong about the only ones I know about are these two decks, but that could be incorrect. Anyways, coming back to Miss Laurie, this is beautiful, right? So what I like about this is that this is a card of intuition. This is a card of really trusting and listening to your instincts, and the understanding that you have access to. Now, this does feel very ancestral based for me as well. Of course, that's a big part of my practice. So that speaks. I also, what I know of Miss Laurie, not to presume, but I do know enough about Miss Laurie to know this is a card that I think would speak strongly to her. But so this has a very ancestral connection to it, of outside of self, but also that inside of self with that owl within, not just wearing the mask, but it's actually within. So that is really beautiful. But what I like about this is that it's being shown as at nighttime, because all of us, right? We all have access to our intuition. We all hold inner wisdom, both from our ancestors and from our own self that we've incorporated and learned ourselves. We all have that. But if we don't put ourselves in a position of quiet so that we can hear those messages, it doesn't matter if we have them, right? We have to practice listening to our instinct. We have to be silent and put ourselves in the position to be able to hear, because we live in a very noisy world and we keep noise going. I am very much guilty of this, where I just will keep something, YouTube video playing or music playing, which is wonderful. Music is uplifting, but sometimes we have to sit and be silent so that we can really hear. And that seems to be what's coming through for you, Miss Laurie, that you have what you need to know within you. It's there. You don't even have to get it from outside of yourself, but you might need to put yourself in the position in the next few days of being quiet and really listening and really hearing that, because it doesn't matter if it's there if we're not hearing it and we're not listening to it. So that's quite a strong message there. This is called the Goddess Dream Oracle by Wendy Andrew. Miss Andrew said, oh, she says she loves this card. Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't see that there. I thought you would, for sure. So that was a message for Miss Laurie. The next card message is for Spirit 277. Lucy says, would you say this deck was suited for spring or autumn? It feels like both. Like there is, like, you can definitely see some spring kind of cards, but I would say this feels like multi-seasonal. I can see winter tones, but I can see spring and summer tones. So I would say this deck seems pretty, in the kind of coolness of the wind, almost like Jack Frost coming in a different sense. I feel like it's kind of multi-seasonal. It doesn't feel weird. And I don't even feel, we'll look at that again later. The backs look like spring, but I feel like the deck itself feels like across multiple seasons. Again, this next card is for Spirit 277. See what comes up. This is just a joy in life. Not just, this is beautiful. So again, it's quite different. I think when I did my review, one of the things that I thought is because there is like a different kind of, there's multiple styles of art within this one, which are all beautiful. I feel like this one has a more cohesiveness of the style of the art that's there, if that's something that bothers you. But it's so beautiful. Like really both decks are beautiful, but there's a difference between the two of them. But this is for Miss Spirit, we'll just call you Miss Spirit. I don't even know that you're Miss, so I shouldn't say that. So this is for Spirit 277. And you can see the joy. This does feel like spring. She has eggs in her hand. She has, we have the hair here. We have the flowers that are growing. So this does have that spark of, spring is coming, right? I know we're just, and at least in my hemisphere, we're just entering into winter time. So spring is very far away, but it is that reminder to feel the joy. We can pull the energy of spring all of the time, and we can step into that, and that there may be fresh beginnings ahead for you. You might be feeling a bit weighted down. You might be feeling, I feel like everybody, by the time we get to November and December, we're kind of a little worn, right? The whole year has gone. There's been a lot of struggles. There's been highs, lows, all those things. And we're kind of like, okay, you know, can I do this? And then this freshness comes in and it reminds you to see the joys. It's really easy sometimes to see the difficulties, the challenges, the to-do list, what we have to achieve, to not be able to see the joys because we're weighed down. And this card is just coming in as a reminder to pause and feel that a little bit of spring air. You know, if you have a crystal or something that reminds you of spring, maybe pulling that out. Open up your windows even if it's cool out and let some fresh air in, so that you can kind of root and ground and sort of remind yourself of the joys that are around you, because that's why we continue stepping forward, right? Is to tap into and feel that joy in life. And if we're never pausing to feel that, we're going to get wore out. We need spring to come in and rejuvenate the energy after a long winter. And so this might be a time to open up the windows for you and allow some of that fresh spring energy to come in and refresh your spirit so that you can head into the rest of the year. Spring is coming. Spring is coming. The next card is for Sadhana. It is a beautiful deck. I agree. Ancestor Spirit Oracle. Yeah, I don't know if we ever found out whether that's the case. It was chore time. So yes, I like that idea. Well-tempered chair. We can pull a card for the collective whole. Hello, Brienne. Hello, Astro Lady. It's 4:30 a.m. Oh my goodness, I am with you. I am often awake at 4:30 a.m. watching yet another something to try to go to sleep. I feel you. I hope you can get back to sleep. Or are you just up for the day? I don't know. Sometimes you're like, why bother, right? When it's that point, but 4:30 is early. I feel like you can still sleep a little longer. We're pulling a card from the Goddess Dream Oracle for Sadhana. Ooh. Yeah, this one definitely has different artistic energy that's really quite powerful. This is the path card. I don't know if you can see this. See how that's going off into the path within there? Have the courage to follow your own path. Because we can see, like, there's ways in there. There's ways to be out here, right? You can follow, you can navigate to the star, follow your path on the surface. We've got the stag going in the background, but we also have the stag on her, and she is not wearing a headdress, right? So this is somebody who is fully integrated in who they are, but then see how the path, like, make your own path and follow that. Don't be afraid to follow the path for yourself. Again, I think there's so many things that are around us that that tells us what path we should be taking, what we should be doing, what our path should be looking like. And this is a message from the grandmothers to just follow your own path. Know what that is. Be fully integrated in understanding of who you are, and see yourself for who you are. See yourself for this empowered self that is within you. And from that place, know what your path is and be willing to follow that. I mean, again, that's not easy. I don't equate grandmother energy with easy energy. It can be soft and wonderful and supportive, but it's not always easy energy. And I don't think it is easy to really know our own path and to follow it, because we have a lot of things that are around us that push us in different directions. But the message is here is to really know and see your own inherent power, because again, she's fully embodying her power, and that's what allows her then to follow her own path. And that's what's you're being reminded that you have that integrated power, and so to take that and follow your own path, and don't get off path by what other people might think or what situations might push you in a different direction that isn't in alignment with your own path. Excuse me. That was for Miss Sadhana, who I think will always slaughtering her name. Okay, the next card that we have, sorry, my voice is starting to get a little bit crackly. I'm going to finish up the 4 that I have and see where we're at. The next one is for Julianne. So many forks in the road along the path, mystery. That's very true. Yeah, it doesn't say that the path is going to be straight, does it, Shelley? There's nothing in that says that it's a straight path, but if you keep following your own path, if you keep, okay, now this is the way I go, this is the way I go, this is the way that I go. It may not be straight, but it's your path. And that seems to be the important thing for Sadhana to hear right now. But yes, I agree. This next card is for Julianne. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Alron. Is this your first official Thanksgiving as an official member of the United States? I'm sure you've celebrated other Thanksgiving, but this might be your first official Thanksgiving. We're pulling a card for Julianne. Let's see what the grandmothers have. Oh, bam! Julianne, apparently, you also need to follow your own path, or need that reminder to follow your own path. And again, I don't think this is picking on Sadhana or picking on Julianne, because I think that we all always need, it's just, we have so many competing understandings of what we're supposed to be doing, when we're supposed to be doing it, what that looks like, that sort of energy that comes in. We're all pulled in so many different directions. We have responsibilities that we have to do. We have paths that we've been set on that we need to find a way to get off of. We have other, there's so many things that are pulling on us. And so it takes a lot of power, right? It does take that. And that's why I really like the way this card is drawn, because we see somebody who is fully integrated with their power. They're fully in touch with their vulnerabilities of the deer, but they're also fully integrated with the antlers and the strength and the power that comes with stag. And so it's accepting and fully accepting and embodying who you are. And that is what allows you to step forward onto the path that is yours. And that there are many times along the way that we have to be reminded, because it's not the easiest thing, right? Because we do have so many things that pull at us, that pull at our time, that pull at our ideas of who we are, that pull at our understanding of what our path even looks like. And so sometimes we need that reminder that says, it does take courage to see, this is my path, right? This is the way I'm supposed to be going right now, and I'm going to walk that path. That isn't easy, and that does take courage. But the grandmothers are calling you forward and or encouraging you to continue on that path, or readjust yourself. You say those resumes seem to be losing sight of your path. It's so easy to, and I think that there's nothing inherently wrong with losing sight of our path. It's probably very natural, because again, we've got so many conflicting pulls. But to stop and pause and sort of readjust or resettle yourself into really knowing who you are and what you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be walking, and then having that courage to adjust and move back in is what's more important. Yes, we're going to all get off track, and you'll get off track again, you'll lose sight again, and that's okay, as long as you keep stepping back into that space where you can readjust, remember what your path is, and have the courage to walk that. Is what this card is coming out for you. So that was for Julianne. I have Miss Roxanne is next. I know it always interests me. I don't do a lot of this style of reading, except for on videos like this. Like in my professional practice, I don't, do a lot of quick readings, like one after another, like people do, like festivals and fairs or parties or things like that, where you're like reading, let's say, with the same deck multiple times in quick succession. That's not traditionally how I read. And so I don't often have the opportunity where the same cards are going to show up over and over again, unless it's like Lenormand, where there are patterns. I've definitely noticed patterns with Lenormand, where there's certain patterns of cards that are showing up. And generally, though, it's that understanding that there's that collective energy that's out there as well, that is impacting our personal journey, right? So collectively, we probably all need a reminder that we need to know our path and have the courage to step into that. And so that collective energy is overlapping into the personal energy of the duplicates in some way, right? But it's kind of cool. I do enjoy seeing where those show up. The phrase "field of dreams" comes to mind as I look at that background. It did have a beautiful field in the back, didn't it? I liked the star in the back too, though, because the star card is about that trusting ourselves to navigate our way forward. And so that kind of pulls in very well as well. This next card is for Roxanne. Oh, I love a card that has fairy tales and myths on it. So this is interesting because we've had the self-discovery, but this isn't so much about discovery, but it's exploring it. And we were just talking about that understanding of the collective energy, and fairy tales and myths are the stories of the collective, right? They are understanding of the way in which the human story plays out over and over again. And so that when we follow these patterns of fairy tales and mythologies that we follow, these strands and these weavings through, it is understanding how our self and our story intertwines and interconnects with the stories of everybody, of all all of the people. And so exploring sort of your pattern, and how your pattern fits into the greater pattern of the people that are around us is really quite beautiful, of a card. And I really like the interweaving of the branches here and the shadows that are here, and even just this the bird that's kind of flying through. But I can hear sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when you do readings, you can get well, you can sometimes get other images that pop up, like we talked about with that other card, but sometimes I can hear certain things. So you see the image and you're seeing the image of the trees, but then you can also actually get audible. It's probably not making any sense, but I can actually hear those rustling of the leaves, because that to me is what the idea of stories of fairy tales and myths are, those rustling, those stories that the trees are telling over generation after generation after generation. And so this is a card that says to explore who you are in the context of the collective, in the context of how your story weaves with other people and those people that are around you. So it's different than that card that we were looking at, that came up a couple times, of really just knowing who you are within your own self. This is understanding who you are. And again, this is for Miss Roxanne, understanding who you are, but in how your story interweaves with other people, that those around you, with where you came from, with where you're going, and the way in which your story weaves and connects with other stories, which is a different energy there. There is something that you need to understand about yourself and the way that your story interconnects others. That's what I'm trying to say, and I don't know if I'm saying it quite correctly or quite well. So hopefully you hear what I'm saying, Miss Roxanne. Okay, so next we have Viola. I feel like I do feel I'm coming to a reading stamina conclusion. I've greatly enjoyed this though, and these two decks are interesting. They do feel quite different. I will say, I think if you were to look at the I know it's so. Well, I wouldn't say that, Miss Roxanne. I don't say. I know, Miss Roxanne. I know you're such a solitaire, but I do know a little bit, right? That's so interesting that it's not so just about knowing who you are, but understanding the way that you do intertwine, even though you don't see it. So that's quite interesting. Again, like if you know a little bit about somebody, you can kind of, it's like, okay, that's really interesting. So what's interesting is that if you look at these two decks, to me, they look very similar in terms of the packaging and all of that. But I will say, just from tonight, and I've used these decks before, but they were put away. Energetically, the two decks feel very different. They definitely have a different, similar but different. Still feels like I know it says goddess dream, and I know I'm saying grandmother, but to me it speaks of, at least tonight, it speaks of grandmother energy, but it's like different voices of the grandmother. Jamie, I'm so glad you said it. Well, thank you for saying it wasn't too late, Miss Jamie. Despite little sleep, right? And early morning rising to check on country hams. This next card is for Viola, which is an absolutely beautiful name. I mean, all names are beautiful, but the last two names, we have Viola and we have Tamsen. Tamsen is also, because it reminds me of like Tamlin. I wonder what, if that is a cultural name, and if so, what culture that's from, Tamsen. Yeah, this one, and it's funny because you wouldn't guess that, Miss Roxanne, because this looks, on the back, this has a very bright feel, but this has maybe more nighttime. There are bright ones, but maybe more night energy than the other. I love the other one too. I'm going to definitely come back to that for our collective message. But but it is different. It does feel energetically different. This next card here is for Viola. See what apparently the nighttime grandmothers have to say. Ooh, see, then this is a fresh one. So this image of hairs, obviously as an artist, this image of spring is obviously a powerful one here. So my grandfather is German and he chose your name, Tamsen. It's lovely. I wonder if it is a German name or not. I wouldn't know. My grandfather's German as well, but I don't know much about German names. But this is beautiful because this does speak to freshness, right? Again, when you think about spring, you think of renewal, you think about eggs, you think about potential. You have all of that energy of potential. That's what the word that I'm getting is, more potential in this particular card, Viola. There's so much potential that is out there that you may not realize or may not be seeing right now. And this is a reminder of the potential. I know she does hairs really beautifully, and she definitely utilizes them throughout her artwork. But this is a very wise look, and I love that because a lot of her hairs are more that folky style, which is gorgeous. But look at this one, like that is, there's this wisdom that is in the face of this hair that is absolutely gorgeous but powerful. And then she holds this egg within her hand, which holds potential. And it looks to me like, now I can't see very well, so you guys can tell me, but it looks to me like, okay, I gotta get to, it looks to me like this egg is actually starting to crack, that the chick is starting to crack the egg out. So I'm really reading this, Viola, for you more to do with potential, that there is so much potential out there for you that you're just starting to crack the surface of that, and that's coming, which is really beautiful. But this face, like this isn't just like, okay, spring is coming, everything's going to be better, just hold on. I don't mean to say it in a condescending way, but that's not the message that I'm getting. There is a strong and a powerful potential that is ahead. It's not quite here yet, but to kind of hold out, that the things are going to start to crack and things are going to start to open up in a powerful way, and sort of to sort of reroute, reground yourself, because the potential is cracking. Something's cracking through here. Not very support. I don't feel like that was a particularly supportive message. The message here is like, oh, new beginnings, take a fresh look at life. But I'm not really getting that message for you, that however you're feeling and things may be feeling stagnant, things may be not feeling like they're kind of pushing into being of what you need them to be, but that potential is really there, and a deep potential of a shift in some way is what's coming through here for me. So I apologize because I don't feel like that was particularly supportive, but maybe something that you needed to hear, and I don't argue with the grandmothers. Tamsen says it's an English name. Okay, which that makes sense, because it does remind me of like Tamlin, which is a similar, and that would be English. The ballad and the stories of Tamlin. Okay, we're going to do this card for Tamsen, and then I'm going to pull a card for all of us, or maybe two. And kind of pull everything together. I know I did not get to everybody, and I apologize. I tried to get to as many as I could, but I definitely feel the waning, the waning here, but I appreciate everybody coming on. I appreciate everybody being here to support each other and me. You know, it supports me. It's wonderful to have a space to come together and just say, you know what, let's just hang out and let's just be there for each other. Well Tempered Claire says, Weaver's Oracle. Yes, that is one that I use a lot. Very different grandmother energy as well. No, I thank you for showing up, Julianne, because I could use the company as much as everybody else. But I'm going to pull this next card is for Tamsen, and then I think I'll pull one from each deck to wrap it up for all of us. Although again, you know, there's always messages to be heard. Even when you hear in these types of you know, when you're doing public readings like this, I think that very often we can hear messages in other person's reading, right? So if something really resonated and rings true for you, you know, take that. I think you should take that. In this moment, we're all interconnected, and our messages can be heard. And we can learn and take something away from that, even if it didn't have our name on it. Does that make sense? This is a card for Tamsen from the grandmothers. Oh, see, here's the Joy of Life one again. We have definitely had, what have we had now? Like three or so duplicates, and one of them I think was 3 times. I think that this is such a beautiful card. Now, this one does have more of that fresh energy, feel like it, because there is that sense of happiness. Seems like such an easy thing, right? That we almost see cards like the Star card, or we see cards like I'm trying to think of another one, even the Wheel of Fortune. That's kind of a good positive card, but I definitely have in the past, or say the Sun card or something like that, where it is a card of happiness, and we think, oh, it's a happy card, you know, of course the grandmothers want us to be happy, of course, you know, those are kind of like easy cards, we think, right? I don't personally think that there's anything easy about happiness. Like, it's one of the things that people are striving for, right? We look for connections in others to have a sense of connection to bring happiness. We look for you know, a success in our jobs to bring happiness. We look to all kinds of things in search of happiness. So I don't actually think that happiness is an easy or light hearted thing. I think that the pursuit of happiness is quite powerful, and the misfires and the ways in which we try to find happiness and it doesn't work, or we put off happiness because we say, you know, when I achieve XYZ, I'm going to be happy. If I can do this, I'll be happy. If I can find this person, I'll be happy. If I can do this XYZ over here, I can get this much money, I can finish you know, school, I can do this, I can be happy. But truly being happy in the moment, so truly open ourselves up to being happy, to being truly happy within is not actually easy. And it's very, very powerful. It's a powerful draw to have us always looking over the other side of the hill. But it's also when we have those moments where right here and right now, in the midst of wherever you're at in your life, whatever's going on, if you can have that moment where the light shines in and the breeze comes through and we understand joy for even a moment, that's powerful, right? That is very powerful, to understand and have a moment of clarity of joy in the moment, not as some, you know, path that we're trying to reach, some goal we're trying to reach forward. And so that's what this type of card tells me or speaks to, is not that, oh, you know, I'm going to go scatter flowers and say, Tamsen, be happy, you know, let me spread joy and glitter in your hair. It's, you know, to pause where you are are, and have a spot, look up, go outside and look up and see the blue sky, see the trees, hear the trees, be very fully present so that you can feel the joy and the happiness that is accessible to you here and now, not somewhere down the road. And so that's where I see this message for you, that happiness doesn't exist somewhere else and as a goal. Happiness exists as you are here and now, in the best, in the goods and the bads of the now. And if you can pause and feel that, it's going to help to recharge you and push you forward towards the end of the year. I think that we're all kind of working our way towards. So that's what I have for Tamsen. Okay, I know, Gail, it is quite a lovely deck and quite powerful. Kind of zoom this out a bit here, and I'm going to pull a card from each of the decks to wrap up as a message for all of us. Hello, Lucy. Always love when I'm able to hang out with Kelly, not always possible with different time zones. It's hard, isn't it, in Australia or New Zealand or all the places across the world. Whew, okay. I think I have talked enough for tonight after talking all day right with family. I am going to pull a card for, again, this is kind of collective message for us all. Again, I really have loved everybody being here. I appreciate people's patience and, holding space for each other. And I'm sorry that I wasn't able to get to everybody potentially, but I appreciate everybody being here again in the space of being together. I think that's what matters more than anything, is just people willing to sit in space with other people and have some grace and have some support for each other. I think that's where the true magic lies. So I appreciate each and every one of you that stepped into that space tonight. Oh, that's pretty. I don't know why I flipped that over there. There we go. That one's another duplicate, which is quite powerful. The need to, it's 3 p.m. in is that north southwest Australia? That's probably something to, I probably just showed my ignorance of geography. I'm going to wait and see what Tamsen's like. No, you American who knows nothing. I know. I'm going to come back to this card. I'm going to get the other card on the table, but this one, apparently the collective needs to hear this, which I agree. And the being present in our body. But see, this is what's interesting, is that New South Wales. Thank you, Julianne. Yep, you're all like, oh my gosh. All I saw was directions. I track wind, and so I'm always looking at south and southwest and north by south, whatever. So all I saw was directions. I'm going to blame that it's late at the end of a long day, and hopefully you'll have grace for my lack of knowledge. Thank you. Okay, back here. What I love about these two cards, artistically, obviously they're quite a different style, but when I've talked about this card now a couple times, so you all know what this card message is. But one of the things that I find powerful about this card is that, again, in order for this person to be fully in their own skin, right? They're fully integrated when it's within their own power and with their own selfhood, right? So it is the representation, like what I was talking about before with the strength card. The two are not separate. She is fully empowered by her fullness of herself and fully present in herself. And this is what gives her the courage to be able to walk her own path forward. So then having another card that steps forward that is about being fully present in your body, right? For appreciating the fullness of who you are and being present in that body, because that radiates your energy outward. That makes a lot of sense in conjunction with this card, because it's being fully present and being very fully integrated in who you are, because that is what's going to allow you the courage, as the card says, to step in and walk your path, because you will be pulled by so many different directions. There's no way in which you won't have different pulls at where you should be going, and pulled this way and pulled that way. And so in order to be able to stay on the path that is the path that you're supposed to be walking, you do have to be fully present and embracing the fullness of who you are. You know, all of the good and all of the shadow as well, and pulling all that together and then stepping forward and walking the path that you need to walk. So it doesn't surprise me that those cards would come up together, and apparently we all need to hear that message, to be fully present, and that will give us the ability to continue to course adjust, and move down the path that we each need to be moving down. And our paths may look very different. That's one of the beautiful things about coming into space with different people like this, is that we all have different ways in which we are empowered in ourselves. We all have different paths that we are walking, but we can walk alongside of each other, even as we are each walking our own path. So I appreciate everybody who has walked along tonight a little while with us. Apparently, NSW is one state of Australia. I know, duplicates are talking tonight. Okay, I am going to go get a cup of tea. I have Christmas decorations up, fully decorated, and I'm gonna get some peppermint tea and sit and sort of end this night on a good a space surrounded by all of this energy. So I appreciate all of you spending time with me, and I wish you a absolutely wonderful rest of your night or day for some of you who are in the midst of your next day, and just a reminder that it's okay for these holiday times to be complicated, and that you don't have to feel like you always have to be holly jolly and feeling fabulous on the holidays, that they are sometimes difficult, and that you are not alone in that, and to have some grace for yourself, because I think that was our word for the night, and for maybe the rest of this season. Have grace for yourself, have grace for the person that you might bump into that maybe isn't presenting their best self, that maybe have grace that this is a difficult time of the year, and offer that grace to other people as well. So I'm going to head off and quit babbling. Good night, or good day for whenever you're watching this, and I will see you all later.